Every town has that house. You know the one. The house that looks a little too dark, even in the middle of a sunny afternoon. The house that children run past on their way home from school. But in the quiet, affluent neighborhood of Amityville, New York, there is a house that doesn't just look evil. It has a history that suggests it truly is. 112 Ocean Avenue. A beautiful Dutch colonial with those iconic quarter-moon windows that look like two eyes watching the street. To most, it was a dream home. But for two families, it became a portal to a nightmare. Most of you know the movies. You know the Amityville Horror. But movies are polished for Hollywood. Today, we are going back to the source. We are looking at the cold police files of the DeFeo murders and the terrifying, unexplained 28 days of the Lutz family. Was it a haunting? A demonic possession? Or a clever hoax born out of blood and death? Let's step inside. To understand the horror, we have to start on November 13th, 1974. At the time, the house was owned by the DeFeo family. Ronald DeFeo Sr., his wife Louise, and their 5 children. They were a typical, well-to-do family. But behind closed doors, there was tension. The eldest son, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr., was a troubled young man with a history of drug use and a volatile relationship with his father. At 3:15 a.m. a time, there would later become infamous silence settled over Amityville. But inside 112 Ocean Avenue, a .35 caliber Marlin rifle was being raised. Butch DeFeo moved from room to room. First, his parents. Then, his 2 brothers and 2 sisters. 6 people were shot dead in their beds. When the police arrived, they found something they couldn't explain. All 6 victims were found lying on their stomachs, faces down in their pillows. None of the neighbors heard the shots. There were no signs of a struggle, no signs that any family member had woken up to the sound of the rifle blasts just feet away. It was as if they had all been held down by a heavy, invisible hand. Butch eventually confessed, but his story kept changing. He told the police, and I quote, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so quick." Later, he would claim he heard voices. Voices of the house or spirits telling him that his family was plotting against him. He claimed he saw a shadowy figure hand him the rifle. Butch was sentenced to 6 life terms. The house sat empty, a silent tomb, until the Lutz family arrived. 1 year later, George and Kathy Lutz bought the house for a bargain price $80,000. They knew the history, but they believed in new beginnings. They moved in with their 3 children and their dog, Harry. They didn't even have time to unpack before the house began to push back. It started small. George was always cold. He became obsessed with the fireplace, hacking away at wood to keep a fire roaring, yet the house remained freezing. He began waking up every single night at exactly 3:15 a.m., the exact time the DeFeo murders took place. Then, the physical manifestations began. The family claimed that a priest, Father Mancuso, came to bless the house. As he threw holy water, an unseen voice roared, "Get out," from the shadows. The priest allegedly suffered unexplained boils on his hands and a high fever shortly after. The Lutz children began sleeping on their stomachs, the same position the DeFeo victims were found in. Kathy Lutz claimed she was embraced by an invisible force, and once she even woke up to find herself levitating off the bed. And then there was Jodie. The youngest daughter, Missy, started talking to an imaginary friend. She described Jodie as a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes that could change shape. George claimed to have seen those red eyes staring at him from the darkness outside the window. By the third week, the house was decaying. Green slime allegedly oozed from the walls and keyholes. Hundreds of flies swarmed the sewing room, even though it was the dead of winter. The front door was ripped off its hinges in the middle of the night. On the 28th night, something happened that the Lutz family refused to describe in detail. They simply said it was too terrifying for words. They fled the house, leaving behind their clothes, their furniture, and their food in the fridge. They never returned. After the Lutz family fled, the story exploded. They teamed up with writer Jay Anson to release the Amityville Horror. It became a bestseller and a cinematic phenomenon. But with fame came skeptics. Researchers, including the famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, visited the house. Lorraine claimed that the house was the most evil place she had ever stepped foot in. She famously captured a ghost boy photo on the staircase, a photo that many still debate today. Is it a DeFeo child, or just a trick of the light? However, the legal side tells a different story. Butch DeFeo's lawyer, William Weber, later admitted over a few bottles of wine that he and the Lutzes created this horror story over many bottles of wine. He claimed they used the haunting as a way to potentially get Butch a new trial based on insanity and for the Lutzes to make money to pay off their debts. The families who lived in the house after the Lutzes, they say they've experienced absolutely nothing. No ghosts, no slime, no red-eyed pigs. They claim the only horror about the house is the tourists who constantly crowd the sidewalk to take pictures down. So who do we believe? Do we believe George and Kathy Lutz, who passed polygraph tests and maintained their story until the day they died? Or do we believe the lawyers and skeptics who say it was a brilliant marketing scheme built on the graves of the DeFeo family? Whether the haunting was real or a hoax, one fact remains. 112 Ocean Avenue was the site of a horrific mass murder. The walls of that house saw things that no person should ever witness. Sometimes tragedy leaves a stain. Maybe it's not ghosts. Maybe it's just the memory of what humans are capable of doing to those they love. But if you ever find yourself in Amityville and you happen to pass by that Dutch colonial house, keep an eye on those top windows, because some people swear that if you look long enough, you might just see a pair of red eyes looking back. What do you think? Was the Amityville Horror a true supernatural event, or the most successful ghost story ever told? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life horror. Until next time, Try to get some sleep and try not to wake up at 3:15 a.m.